guys, this is FPL Gents, and this time we're doing a review and a preview. With me today, first up we have Mitch. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you,
and we're gonna do the review, and then Jogi is gonna come on later, and I'll do the preview for Game Week 28 with him. So I'm gonna put the time codes below in the video if you want to skip to the preview for next game week because it's coming fast. So Mitch, how was your game week?
Game week was okay. I was happy that West Ham won. Disappointed that Felipe Anderson didn't do anything because I put the armband on him. But I think that a lot of the feel amongst FPL people is that they put their armband on somebody that didn't do anything, and the best that you got was somebody getting an extra bonus point for a clean sheet on a midfielder. It was what I would call the death game week. It's the one where none of the big players did anything. A lot of the little players that people don't have popped off. And yeah, that's all I have to say about the game week in general. I ended up on 40 points, which I think is what the top 100k averaged on as well, with the average being 35, so slightly above the average. But yeah, sat steady in all my mini leagues. What about yourself?
Yeah, it was it was a small red arrow. It was funny because like 4 points more, and it was a green arrow.
Yeah.
For 42 points, there would have been a green arrow. That's kind of sick. So I got 38. Didn't take any hits, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Because I have a mini league and we play for money, and that's since I'm a little bit cut off from the top rank now in the world. I just can aim on the mini league and be calm. Not calm. I'm 14 points ahead in that one, but that's the one I care about now. So I saw him. He had 44 points. I was like, of course he has 44 points in this game week. But then I saw he took a -8, so I actually beat him this game week. So it's nice. Also, I saw on YouTube last episode we had we have one devoted subscriber that I think is really cool because he's gonna have the bragging rights in a few months or a year or so, and be like, I was the first one. You can check my comment in the first videos and stuff.
Good on you, man. Good on you. Well done.
So shout out to Melted88. Thanks for the support. But yeah, the game week was, of course, not what I hoped for. I've kept Auba for so long, and this was one of the game weeks where I expected him to do better. But we warned in the pod last game week that we didn't really trust Auba. He had a tough fixture, so I thought our read was right. So and also the captaincy thing was tricky. Obviously, it would have been really hard to. I think the only guys I got returns from was the Wolves guys, so Jimenez and Doherty, and I would never captain one of them when I had Auba, Son, who I thought had a pretty good fixture, and Felipe Anderson was probably my second choice actually over Auba. So I think our reads were kind of right. It just didn't pay off. We discussed that West Ham, the most likely result is like 2-1 or something. They're probably going to score at least 2 goals. We said that. So just disappointing that Felipe wasn't involved. But that's unfortunately the thing with him. I was really close. It was between him, Rondon, Barnes, and Antonio for me, and the other 3 guys did something, and Felipe didn't. So it's one of those. I really just care about 2 things every game week. It's did I get the captaincy right, and did I get my transfer right? Because those are like the main options you have. The rest of the things I don't care that much about, because that's decisions I took a while ago. So if something goes well there, I'll be like, yeah, I expect that. That's why I brought him in 4 weeks ago. But now it's like a little bit more devastating when you get your transfer completely wrong. So
if we're moving on to the first fixture, for everyone watching, I just want to hold my hands up and say that in the preview, I thought that because of Cardiff's home form, they were going to sneak a win and continue that form. I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, it did slightly come out of left field. This result. I don't know if you want to talk about the result a little bit.
Yeah, I said it was going to be a tricky fixture to predict. I said that Watford is obviously a better team, but wasn't in great form up until this game. But they are clearly the better team, so I'm not surprised that they won. But I'm kind of surprised that they won this much. But of course, Cardiff at the start of the season they were this poor. You would
Yeah.
expect a result like this, but I feel they've been a bit tighter recently
Mm.
and harder to beat without looking too much on their games. But I watched Watford a little bit more. So when Watford wins, I'm like, yeah, that it's a good team. They have a funny formation, so
Yeah.
they fit some teams bad. Some teams are going to struggle really against Watford because of their funny formation that they set up that is quite attacking. So yeah, that's one reason why I have you for the review is because Yogi has Delufeo on his bench. I don't want to have that review session with him.
Oh god.
Uh,
You might have to just like once the preview's over, you might just have to just slip it into the preview and just get a cheeky reaction from him. Then you might just press the red button on the Skype and just be like, "Yeah, I'm gone." Bye.
yeah, I'll do it in the end of the video so he can rage quit when we're done. Uh, but yeah, so assets, I don't favor any of these assets. We talked about Etheridge prior to this game week. He has high. He's still like number 2 or something in the overall stats. So he's not that bad, of course. But out of out of any Watford assets, I can't really trust them. Uh, One game suddenly Dini isn't gonna play. Like he plays Andy Gray, this coach. So it's probably these two that were delivered last game, but fixtures are a little bit not on their side. And except for this game, their form hasn't been great. So,
Mm.
uh, you know, sometimes you have this great game against this pretty bad team, but that's not the like entire picture. So you should just look on that. It's like we're going to talk about Newcastle Huddersfield. Like, yeah, they looked good against Huddersfield, but who doesn't, right?
Exactly.
So, so next game we have this West Ham Fulham, which is kind of similar. Fulham they will drop points away. They will concede 2 or 3 goals every game. So I wasn't very impressed with West Ham, but still they got the job done. And
Yeah, it did.
Arnautovic looked really good, I think.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He looked really good, and it was good to see him come on. I think that if anyone watching that likes Hernandez, I think he's just getting a bit old. He's too slow. He just has one expectation, and that is for him to be in the box and someone to pass him the ball, for him to then shoot and score. But his shooting ability isn't what it used to be when he was at United. We don't have the quality that United had when he was there. And like you said, I watched the whole game from start to finish, obviously as a fan, and we got the win, but I was disappointed. I mean, the fact that a goal and an assist came from 2 defenders, although that's a good showing in the team that they're all working together and they're all pitching in, for me is disappointing. That Anderson couldn't come up with any goods at all, considering that he's our most expensive and probably best player. Good to see Lanzini back. He looked good on the pitch when he played. Disappointed and also a bit nervous and interested as to why he took off Felipe Anderson and brought on Lanzini. I guess I can't really argue because Pellegrini's a manager and I'm not. And then the third goal did actually come from a Snodgrass assist. I think it was a Snodgrass assist to Antonio, who then scored. And my thinking was that he was going to take off and Snodgrass for Lanzini because Lanzini plays in the middle. But overall, a good showing. Another, in terms of the review as well, a fantastic observation from yourself as well about Antonio. He really is back to the form that he was in before he got injured. A really, really good asset. I'm even myself thinking of downgrading Felipe Anderson to Antonio to have a bit of extra money in the bank, as I'm potentially looking to do Rashford to Aguero, just to have a bit more cash to play around with. But that's all I have to say about that, really. I'm glad that we won. Disappointed that we conceded so early, because a clean sheet would have been fantastic for our team, for the for the defense, etc. But I'm glad we won.
Fulham only had like these two opportunities that were very big in the start of the game, but then West Ham started to play quite well, and they could have kept a clean sheet if they just had been focused in the first 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Babel's looking good as
yeah,
well.
yeah, good. Yeah, good that you mentioned him. I've been mentioning him almost every week, so it's nice to see like that the eye test doesn't fail you. I've seen guys on Twitter who's like, Babel is horrible. How can you play him? You've just been lucky. But I've been liking him ever since he got to Fulham. He has this quality. He plays for the Netherlands national team, and there's a reason for it. But he's one of those guys who he does the hard things better than the easy things sometimes. So he can get a really good shot from out of nowhere, and then he misses a tap in, obviously. So that it will be frustrating, but I think on the whole, he is the only guy who I think is a good asset in Fulham right now.
Yeah. I mean, just a quick on the fact that he can do the hard things and not the easy things. I don't know if you saw the game or watched some of the highlights, but
I saw it.
It should have been 2-0 Fulham at 10 minutes, because he was 1-on-1 with Fabianski, and praise be it to, in my opinion, our best signing of the summer, even though Anderson is quality. Fabianski beat him on the one-on-one. Babel couldn't slot the ball past him. But he should have had a brace that game, and that would have made put a lot more pressure on us to get back into the game. So yeah, definitely one to watch out for. And it's, for anyone watching, it's really hard to miss him if you're reviewing games, because that pink hair, you could see it from halfway across the world. So
cool. So yeah, Antonio, as you said, I really am quite disappointed with myself, because I was like 50-50 between him and Anderson, and now, as you say, if you had Antonio, you're gonna have some easier transfer decisions this game week. So that's kind of rough. Next game, Burnley Spurs. As a Spurs fan, I'm very disappointed in my team's performance this game. Funny thing is, I don't think we've had a draw in 40 games. So you can just, and mostly we're not keeping clean sheets anymore. We discussed that like a month ago too, that we look poor in defense. So if you have a Spurs defender, you should really get rid of him. Also, the attacking assets. I captained Son because I thought that Kane would play. Their link-up play is usually very good, and this game it was Kane all on his own. It felt quite weird. They didn't have any flow in their attacking. Burnley, though, you have to give them credit. They looked amazing in defense. They're very hard to break down. One of the tougher sides, as they showed last year. But recently this year, they've come to some great form. So Barnley, it's the Barnes guy. I praised him last episode, and then he just punished me since I didn't sign him or consider him enough. I didn't think he was this fixture proof, and Wood shows that as well. And as long as they're not facing like Manchester City or Liverpool, which I think they do soon, but otherwise I would certainly start to consider them now, even though I haven't before. I think they are nailed on now. It's like a nice mix with this big beast Wood and this little bit more technical Barnes. I think they mix and link up very well.
Yeah, and also as well, I was going to get, if you gave yourself the credit for it, I would have done anyway on the Barnes hype, and I'm going to give myself the credit for McNeil as well. Again, coming in with an assist. I mean, he's not a goal machine. He is on set pieces sometimes, which is nice. Not penalties, but he's on free kicks and sometimes and the corners. But again, if you're looking at having more premium defenders or strikers, and you need to get in a fifth midfielder that's cheap or bench fodder, although I wouldn't actually put him as bench fodder because he's also proving pretty fixture proof. McNeil is someone that I highlighted a few weeks ago, and he's come in with 2 or 3 assists since then, which for a price of I don't think he's even 5 mil, or he's close.
No.
Just I think he's really cheap, and that's an insane points return. And Burnley are in good form now. So they're back to the Burnley that we all love and knew from last season that got themselves into Europa League that then screwed them over this season.
Yeah, and Heaton, just the calm that the defense gets by playing Heaton, I think, is quite noticeable.
Yeah, he's a fantastic keeper.
Next up, we have Bournemouth Wolves. I think it's the only game I didn't see anything of. So, did you watch any highlights or something?
Yeah, I saw the highlights. Both teams played well. It was a frustrating game for both teams because, like, you know how we've discussed about there are like 2 or 3 teams in the Premier League that just play a completely wacky formation. One of them being Watford, and then the other 2 being Bournemouth and Wolves. And they came up against each other with like a very any formation can be called traditional, but these were very non-traditional formations coming up against each other. Bournemouth are playing at home, so they're usually better, but they're flooded with. They've got a couple of really key injuries. David Brooks and Callum Wilson were both out and absent for them, and that really did show. Frazier played really well, but didn't show anything for it. They went 1-0 up with the King. Should have gone 2-0 up, but King missed the penalty, which was really, really poor from him. That should have been a brace. And then in terms of Wolves, Wolves were just Wolves. They didn't have one of their explosive games, but Jimenez came in with the goods, and Doherty again with the assist. I actually really think that Wolves should have nicked it towards the end. It wasn't the most exciting game though that I saw from the highlights. It was done pretty quick on Match of the Day.
I didn't see the game, as I said, but Jimenez just seems to find a way, and he's starting to. I feel like he's starting to become a big player who you can rely on, and we should soon start to seriously consider captaining him because he's quite consistent now, and Wolves has great form. So if you want a differential, maybe next game week against Huddersfield, it's not entirely unreasonable to pick him, I think.
Yeah.
But let's move on to a game that I did see a little bit of. It was Newcastle Huddersfield. So Newcastle played great before the red card, and after that I wasn't that interested in the game. The game was over in my eyes. Newcastle, as I said, they played well. Almiron had a couple of chances and looked better than I thought he would. He is really fast and has pretty nice technique, hits the ball well, hits the target. He had one in the post and stuff. So he's quite accurate and his crosses are accurate. So I really liked what I saw from him. So that's why I got Rondon in for next game week because I liked what I saw from their link-up play. And Huddersfield, of course, got the red card, so not much to say. They're not great in offense. They're very poor actually in offense, but Newcastle are great in defense. So, and Newcastle has great games. So I know you're on share.
You like what you said about the beginning of the video. You look for 2 things to see if your transfers did well and if your captaincy pick did well. Captaincy pick, like probably most other FPL players, again, Anderson 4 points, not ideal. But Shah coming in with the 6 points, clean sheet. I mean, it would have been nice to see him get an assist or a goal, but obviously as a defender, the first hope is that they get a clean sheet, which he did, and I'm happy with that. I'm a bit more nervous about him going up against Burnley because of the form that Burnley are in, but I just feel like against Huddersfield, from what I saw, they were a lot more free flowing because Huddersfield are just so poor. They're in the Championship already, basically. I feel like because his name, why does his name escape me? The Newcastle manager, Rafa Benitez. That's it. But Benitez is going to turn around to the boys and say that Burnley are kind of still in the relegation scrap, although they're getting out of it. So they're going to go back to 9 men in defence. So I feel like he's still going to be a pick for me this game week, although I'm a little bit more nervous to do so. But it's getting to that point in the season where Newcastle, if they're not even going to win, they really need to keep clean sheets at home if they have a chance of staying up, because they're still in the scrap. Because the way Palace has been looking, and we're moving on to them next, Crystal Palace are going to be nowhere near the relegation zone by the end of the season.
I think those are good points, and I think that makes me think also about their attacking being better with Almiron, and that helps them defend, because they were like just pumping balls up to Rondon. Now they can do that the same thing but better.
Yeah.
So they can feel even more confident that, okay, if we defend well, we have a really good chance now with getting a result. It's not like defend for a draw anymore, because they actually have a pretty good chance at winning games now. Even though this was Huddersfield, I still think this holds true because they have some good schedule ahead of them. Next game, we have Leicester Crystal Palace to talk about. It's such a strange result. I was watching this game, and I think Leicester was playing quite well. But Crystal Palace just had the better game plan and executed it better. Ashley Barnes. No? What's his name? Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, yeah. Ashley, you just love Barnsley too much, don't you, right now?
To put it in there. Flip it in. That's a nice name. No, but Harvey Barnes looks amazing, actually. With I think he's very similar to Fraser. But Fraser is out of form and Barnes is in form, so they switched form. But he's like this Duracell like rabbit, just goes and goes and finds some nice positions, and he's not clinical, but at least he's fun to watch, and he's involved a lot. That's why he gets the assist last game, because he's involved and he's doing something right when he gets the ball. So I think he's a good shot.
I suppose just touching on Palace as well, like you very very correctly said in our preview of this game week, they're like a different team away from home, which is very strange. It's how West Ham was last season, which is maybe a little bit more understandable considering the London Stadium took a long time to settle into. Massive change from Upton Park, but Palace are looking like they're doing really well. I don't know why, but they seem to get a penalty every 2 games. And Miljevic is just an absolute machine at slotting.
It was the same last season.
Yeah, they seem to get penalties. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't watch their games 90 minutes every week unless they're playing West Ham. But I don't know how they do it. And he always slots them home as well. But one thing that it was interesting when the three of us were having our chat with Yogi as well, he said something interesting earlier today that I wanted to talk about for the review, because I watched the highlights on Match of the Day and found that he was really pinpoint with it. Batshuayi is a good player, but he's not necessarily amazing. But one player that they have got in that squad that is fantastic is Zaha, and I feel like Batshuayi might actually be the key to unlocking Zaha's potential, which shows if anyone watches the highlights, you'll see that they have really good link-up play. MacArthur came in with a couple of assists. He's like a bench fodder, low-price midfielder that seems to get an assist every now and then. MacArthur.
Oh, MacArthur's Park, yeah.
Yeah, he comes up every now and then with an assist, which is good. Although he did get a yellow card, but that's just MacArthur. He always gets yellow cards. But the brace from Zaha was really, really good, and Batshuayi's involvement in the build-up play to them was key. And I think you want to play Palace offensive players when they're away from home.
In conclusion, I thought Batshuayi looked great, and Zaha has been pretty clinical this season. He creates things for himself and for others. So it has been like frustrating for him to not have someone to play with, and it's like most people thought about Higuain was going to be that way with Higuain and Hazard, that Hazard is going to thrive now because Higuain is moving great and stuff. I was a little bit skeptical about that, but that's actually what I think has happened with Bats and Zaha.
Yeah.
He's, as you say, he's really unlocked the gem that is Zaha. So both of them are quite interesting, but yeah, Zaha maybe the one who you can trust a bit more to play and play 90 minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I think we have to mention Milivojevic at least. Not the best priced, but still, he's amazing at set pieces. So, not entirely bad pick as well.
Yeah.
Those are the guys from those two teams. We should move on to Arsenal Southampton. So, I didn't see this game, actually, but Lacazette punishes Auba owners once again. And Arsenal defenders, I was close to wildcarding 2 weeks ago, and it was going to be an Arsenal defender in that team because they had two great fixtures. And they actually, people say that they are shit at defending, and they are, but against the worst teams, I think they have like nice clean sheets potential. I don't know about their fixtures coming up. They have like one good game now too. So that has been after that has been three great games to have Arsenal defenders in.
Mm.
But it's too late to go for them now. Don't like their fixtures, but I can only talk about what I know about upcoming fixtures. Did you see this fixture?
Yeah, I watched the first half. I got really lucky with the Sunday games because I watched the first half of Arsenal, where both the goals were scored. And then because I saw that it was 0-0 at halftime for United Liverpool, I switched over to see all the goals that didn't happen in the second half of that game. It wasn't the most interesting or exciting game to watch. The goals came pretty quick. Mkhitaryan had one of those good games, but I don't think he's somebody for the FPL squad. He does this like 2 or 3 times a season where he'll get a couple of goals or a goal and assist, and people
He'll
are like,
troll
oh,
you.
yeah, he'll troll you. You're like, oh, has he woken up finally? But then he'll just go back to just doing nothing. I mean, it's slightly better than how he was at United because at United he just did nothing. At Arsenal now he's getting something every 8 or 9 game weeks and then going back to sleep. Um, but I was impressed. The best player on the pitch for me was Kolasinac in the first half. Anyway, he didn't get anything to show for it with an assist or a goal, but his ability to run up and down the left and be offensive, but then backtrack to be defensive as well. He was actually clearly deserving of the 2 bonus points that he got. Really upset as well because I think Lacazette should have got 2 bonus points because I had him in the team. But all in all, it was a very standard Arsenal performance against a team that are, low, below mid-table, but not quite in the relegation scrap anymore with Southampton. I was disappointed to see that Southampton couldn't score because I wanted Redmond to do something. But yeah, it was a standard game. There should have been more goals from Arsenal, really, at home.
Last game, we have Manchester United, Liverpool. So it was kind of snoring and a weird game with 4 substitutions at halftime, and it just broke the game.
Yeah.
Not much else to say. There wasn't any flow. There were people lying on the ground. It was like a war zone.
It was more of a. It was
Medic!
medic! I need a medic! Give me the morphine! I was surprised to the actors' names escape me, but I was watching the second half of that game, and that's it, Eddie Redmayne. I was surprised to not see Eddie Redmayne just fly through with the medic outfit on like he was when he was in Hacksaw Ridge, and just shooting morphine into everyone's hamstrings that game. But I don't know. Obviously, again, I'll leave the injuries for you and Yogi to discuss for the preview because United have been hit really hard in that game. But again, for me, the standout player for Liverpool was Robertson. He played really well. He tried to be offensive, but he played really, really well on that left hand side, shutting down anything that United tried to do. But I'm trying to find things to say about that game. But quite honestly, it was as boring as you could get in terms of a football match, and probably more interesting than Hacksaw Ridge when it came to all the injuries.
Great. Thanks, Mitch. And we'll move on to the preview now with Yogi. And you take care and have a good game week.
Thank you. You too, man. Take care. Have a good game week, everyone. Bye-bye.